What's up, guys? I'm not cutting that. Happy Tuesday, May 25th, 2021. 13 games on the docket. Why are you the way that you are? My girlfriend. It's almost 4 a.m. What are we doing? Hey, today, 13 games of baseball. So many ways to go, so many aces, so many offenses to choose from. We're going to have some fun dicing it up, show some love. Did a video yesterday. You guys know the drill. If I got time, I'll try and pump these out. I definitely appreciate those of you guys that let me know when I don't pump them out. And being that the baseball doesn't really get the clicks, gets the views that some of the other content does, listen up. I'm going to do a special deal just for you at rundfs.com. Check this out. You go to rundfs.com. Don't tell nobody. Click VIP passes. The week pass during NBA peak season, $30. The month pass, usually $100. But because you came to this video, and that's really the foot traffic right now, today only, we're going to do $20 on the week pass. 2-week pass going to be at $35, usually like a $50 thing. And the month pass, usually $100, down to $60. So check that out. Also, if you just want to lock in until the All-Star break, $100 will get you locked into that. And yeah, so that's going to be at least today only. But we'll see if we'll switch that up, because we do have a lot of jibber jabber going on. This video brought to you by PrizePicks.com, our title sponsor lately. If you guys want to diversify your daily DFS spend, better reward your research and spots, and meet player props and parlays and sports betting all together. It is a really, really fun site. You can download the app on your phone, and if you sign up using code Gundacker, you see it on the screen, they're going to match your initial deposit up to $100. So you sign up, you drop a 20 bomb there, $40 back, you get up to 100. So if you want to drop 100, you get $200 worth of credit just about instantly, and you'll be able to fire away parlay style prop bets, minimum of 2, maximum of 5. It's really fun. They have not just baseball, they have basketball. For baseball, I do like to look at the K props. And then for basketball, I like the basketball props a lot during the playoffs, just because some of the projections maybe are a little bit more influenced by the median during the regular season. And I do think during the playoffs, players play, right? They get longer minutes. Yesterday, you saw Giannis Antetokounmpo, a great example. So I like kind of edging that out, at least in the early couple games. So look for that. They have single stat and fantasy scores that you guys can bet over under on fantasy scores. They have the full scoring chart here. We also have the stuff tabbed out in the rundfs.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. If you guys want to reference my personal projections versus the fantasy score on the PrizePicks website, it is part of the NBA props tab, and then of course they have the single stat DFS stuff. You can bet on real points, real assists, real rebounds, and real 3-pointers made, as opposed to the fake ones. That is the sponsor, man. Show them some love, because they show me some love, and it's all about love. Let's talk about baseball. 13 games is a lot, so we're gonna do a couple things. First of all, if you guys want me to keep this entertaining, the energy up, the vibes up, I need you to do the same. Hit that thumbs up below this video and double check that red button that says subscribe. If it's not clicked, you're dead to me. Click it so you can live. Yankees hosting the Blue Jays. Steven Matz up against Corey Kluber. Implied run total for the Blue Jays, 4.2. The Yankees, 5.4. Definitely a game where both pitchers offer some skepticism in terms of, are they really good? Are they not? Corey Kluber, I think, is the biggest experiment that I've been tracking, because, as a dedicated Yankees fan, I want to believe that no-hit Kluber is the Kluber that we have. However, I live my life just preaching the good word of Sierra and XFIP, and so far his Sierra and XFIP 4.2, and that's not great. So it does suggest that he's been a little bit more on the lucky side of things, and maybe we're due for some regression. Either way, we've seen flashes of brilliance out of Corey Kluber. I do want to preface every pitcher discussion today by letting you guys know that the marquee guy Jacob Degrom, 11.8K, hosting the Colorado Rockies. Rockies have an implied run total of like 2.3. That's the lowest that we've seen all year. There's a good chance DeGrom is the one you just want to go up there and get and go take that 30, 40 fantasy point average range of outcome. So when I talk about a Mets, when I talk about a Corey Kluber, they're going to pale in comparison to a guy like DeGrom. And there's also big aces like Scherzer. So I definitely tried to get rock solid options from my pitcher spots today. The bigger the slate, the less variance I want to deal with at the pitcher spot. So neither one of these guys are really tickling me. I do respect both offenses enough. Steven Matz, Sierra and xFIP under 4, but the swing and strike rate under 10%. So I would like to have, if I'm going to dare play a pitcher against the Yankees, a little bit of strikeout potential. Like I've rostered Carlos Rodon a couple starts back. Yankees will strike out, but you have to be a strikeout pitcher. So I just don't think Steven Matz is that. So I'm going to find myself picking on Steven Matz where I can. Yankees a 5.4 implied run total. Help is on the way. Giancarlo Stanton looks like he could be back today. He's missed the last several games due to an injury. And then we know Luke Voigt starting to warm up. Gleyber Torres back starting to warm up. And Giovanni Urshela, 2,400 on FanDuel. Yeah, if he's going to be around that cleanup spot, absolutely. So Yankees stack definitely looking pretty viable. 8,400 I think is still cheap enough on the Corey Kluber side of things where you think, hey, if he's going to have a swing and strike rate over 13%, yeah, there's probably a range of outcomes where that dog will hunt. So at 8.4K, do I get to 20 plus fantasy points? It is very viable. However, Blue Jays are a talented offense. It is a meaningful game, division rivalry game. Blue Jays, of course, not quite up there with the Rays and the Red Sox right now, but the division's still open, the season's still young. So guys like Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, Vladdy, Guerrero, Teoscar Hernandez, all guys that scare me enough and against righties offer high average, a decent chunk of power, and a low strikeout percentage outside of Teoscar Hernandez, that is not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be a big, important game for Corey Kluber. So I've definitely had my doubts in the stretch for Kluber because I feel like his strength of schedule has been a lot more pitcher friendly than not, right? We've seen the Tigers, the Orioles, the Rangers, and the Nats were in the mix there as well. So I do think that we can look at his strength of schedule and be like, man, I don't know if this is real. He's faced Toronto twice, 2 of his first 3 starts, 11.6, 5.6 fantasy points. So I think it's pretty safe to say early on, I probably don't have either pitcher. I'm going to have some Yankee stacks. I'm probably going to have some Blue Jay stacks just because Yankee Stadium can get crazy. But Yankees pitching has been really great. Kind of the opposite of what we expected coming into the season. We thought the Yankees offense would be dropping 5 to 10 runs a game, and that the pitchers maybe, especially the starters, maybe needed some work, but it's been kind of the opposite. But I do have hope that the Yankees offense, if they're full strength here against a contact lefty, will be able to thrive. So give me some Yankees bats, give me a little bit of the Blue Jay stack. Let's move on to the next game. No pitchers there. Tyler Miley taking on Max Scherzer. Reds, implied run total 3.2. Max Scherzer and the Nats, his offense with a 4.3 implied run total, and Scherzer's going to give you an over $1,000 discount to Jacob Degrom. Very interesting because he is one of the pitchers that could come out here and give you a shot at 30 plus fantasy points. We've seen him drop 40, 39, 2 of his last 4 games, and then his last 2 games at Arizona, I think they might have the roof open. It was a very laid back game, just 5 innings there, 85 pitches, became a laugher, right? A football score on the Nat side of things. So maybe that kept him from going 100 pitches and getting that mid-30s score. And then at Chicago, didn't get where you wanted to go. I'm looking for 6 plus innings here. I think it's there, definitely there for the taking. And I think his ownership might come a little bit lower if the buzz is on Degrom. Yeah, there might be some concerns about Degrom's pitch count. We'll talk about that going forward. But I'm not overly concerned because it's not like he's missed a deep stretch of time. I think he ended up missing 1 big league start, and then he had a rehab assignment where he bullied the single-A Cardinals last week. So, yes, Max Scherzer on the radar. 34% strikeout rate so far this year to lefties and a 37% strikeout rate to righties. At home, he's been brilliant. Reds on the road, definitely a little less menacing than at home in Great American Ballpark. There are still some bats that you got to tiptoe around. Jesse Winker's been having a breakout year. Tyler Stevenson batting over 300 so far against righties in his big league career, and then a 270 plus average there for Castellanos and Tyler Naquin against righties. But the rest of the lineup don't really hit for that great of an average, and outside of Jesse Winker, the entire lineup strikes out at almost an average of 25%, so 1 and 4. You parlay that with the fact that it's Max Scherzer. Yeah, definitely like Max Scherzer here. Tyler Miley, I definitely have been looking for regression on his side. However, the Sierra and XFIP, not terrible, a little bit under 4, but I think on this slate, I'm not going to be overly excited to go out there and get him nearly 9K. I'm going to keep it really, really, really sharp at my pitching pool, and I do like some of these Nats bats. If I'm going to pick on Male, I do think the regression and his numbers against left-handed hitting will be what to watch for. A 3.89 xFIP so far this year to lefties. The last couple seasons, last 3 to be specific, almost a 5 xFIP. So with the walk rate being as high as it is and the fly ball rate being over 45%, I do think look out for some sneaky lefties here and there. Juan Soto, definitely somebody will play against any pitcher. But Kyle Schwarber, maybe look out for him. The last 2 weeks on Kyle Schwarber, he has been he's 5 for his last 16 with 2 homers. He's also drawn 4 walks, and walks is something that Tyler Mahle will allow lefties to draw. So a couple one-off bets here stick out for me. Schwarber's definitely somebody that I'm a little bit curious with. I do fear his strikeout propensity. He does strike out quite a bit, but I do think 1 through 4 of the Nats could be a interesting stack to kind of throw at the field here. However, it's going to cost you, especially with Turner and Juan Soto being an average of over 6K each. Likely not getting to Reds bats here. Obviously, Max Scherzer can still give up a homer here or two with the amount of fastballs he uses, but man, 5.4K on a bat against Max Scherzer and a guy like Winker, who would probably be my most sought after guy if I was trying to get there, just seems like a whole lot to invest in this spot. So give me some Max Scherzer. I'm not likely to lean on Male from where I'm sitting now. That could change between now and lock depending on some lineups, but just give me some Max, a couple of bats here. We're cherry picking, and we're on to the next one. Jacob Degrom hosting Kyle Freeland, southpaw for the Rockies, and the Rockies, of course, on the road facing the best pitcher on planet Earth. 11.8K for Jacob Degrom on DraftKings. The only question mark around Jacob Degrom today is how many pitches can he throw. Like I said, he didn't miss a ton of time. His last appearance was on the 9th of this month. 5 innings pitched in that game, 68 pitches, and that's when the wheels kind of fell off. And in between then, he's rehabbed in single A, and that last single A start looked absolutely untouchable. That said, it's been 3 weeks since the last big league appearance. There's probably some opportunity left out there for a pitch count to be lower than what we want it. We'd like to know that maybe upwards of 100 pitches is something we can get to. So it's a little too early now. I don't have a lot of quotes to work with to kind of gauge where that would be. But if you're taking notes, that would be something I jot down, is to try and feel a little bit better about how many pitches DeGrom might throw. If he gets to 85 plus, that might be enough against this Rockies team that presents a very, very bad stretch of guys in their lineup. On the road this season, they're striking out over 27% of the time. And outside of Raimel Tapia and Charlie Blackmon against righties, we are striking out 24% or way greater if you look at the bottom 4 of this Rockies lineup. So this is a freebie spot for DeGrom. If he's able to go 90 plus pitches, he's absolutely somebody that can lead the entire slate in fantasy points, and it would probably be the expectation if we are able to put a definitive number on his potential pitch count. Kyle Freeland, not going to get there on him. A contact lefty, looking back to last year, 62.1 innings of sample size against righties, just a 14% K rate, 265 average allowed. It's going to be a ground ball guy, so not very viable for fantasy, but also not somebody that you necessarily want to go after and pick on. But you might catch me cherry picking a guy like Jonathan VR and Francisco Lindor. I talked about VR a couple times, especially yesterday. VR is somebody that if you can neutralize his strikeouts, he does present a little bit of power and some speed. So if he's going to continue to lead off for the Mets to get on base for this top of the lineup, he could steal some bags, and he has the opportunity to drop a bomb here or there. Last couple years, Kyle Freeland has allowed a high home run per 9 to lefties and a high average allowed, 270 plus. So Dominic Smith might not be the worst idea on the slate, and if he's going to be batting around that cleanup spot at 2,200 on FanDuel, I love the thought of using him to offset a price of like a high price stud. And then James McCann got into one yesterday. We know him as a perennial lefty masher, so I'm not going to commit to the stacks here, but I do want to cherry pick a couple of the Mets from the top of the lineup, and you can give me Jacob Degrom, and we'll be hunting for some information about how many pitches he might throw today. So far, no weather concerns sticking out, but I'm not a weatherman, so keep an eye on that. Let's move on to the next game. Royals at the Rays. Tampa Bay Rays are on quite the win streak, and the Kansas City Royals on paper don't seem like the team to surprise anybody, especially the Rays, but hey, sometimes baseball is baseball. Brad Keller on the bump up against Rich Hill. Brad Keller, a 4.53 xFIP this season with a 4.72 Sierra and an ERA over 6.5. Probably going to eliminate him from my player pool. Doesn't offer me strikeout potential, and it just really doesn't give me fantasy upside, especially on a slate this vast with some very, very high upside pitchers. Rich Hill on the bump for the Rays, 10.4% swing and strike rate this year. Sierra xFIP, there's nothing that blows me away at 8.5, so I likely don't roster either pitcher here. With that said, neither pitcher kind of strike me as a guy I want to go out there and attack in terms of I can get upside because of this reason. I think if I was going to kind of start that sentence and try and fill in the blanks, it's Brad Keller does allow a 1.65 home run per 9 to righties so far this season, but it's not in line with his hard contact rate. So what I mean by that, he has a 1.65 home run per 9, but the hard contact's at 33.3%. So those numbers usually you're going to see closer to a 40% hard contact rate to sustain an over 1.5 home run per 9. Fly ball rate under 30%, and the line drive rate is elevated. So something's got to give, but if we're going to keep attacking these weaknesses, Randy Arozarena would probably be the guy that sticks out the most. And then against lefties, a home run per 9 over 1.2. Those numbers make a little bit more sense. The line drive rate 32%, the hard contact rate 39%. However, still a high ground ball rate. So Austin Meadows would probably be somebody I toy with to maybe take advantage of that. But again, probably not going to end up full stacking the Rays. But I will be having those guys activated in the player pool. Even at 4 a.m., we don't get away from the trains. They are 24/7. This is how we live in out here. Let's move on to the next game. Braves at the Red Sox. Braves, the NL team, coming into an AL Park, Fenway. Red Sox, Rays, Yankees, all dueling it out there for the top of the AL East. So every win matters right now as the Rays is this tight, even though it's so early in the season. Charlie Morton taking the bump for the Braves. Not going to have to bring his bat with him because they do acquire that DH spot. Pablo Sandoval, Panda. Going to fill in that spot, maybe gets himself into a revenge bomb up against Garrett Richards. So matchup-wise, Charlie Morton, I do think, is a better pitcher than his ERA suggests. A 3.66 Sierra, 3.45 xFIP with a 4.6 ERA. But the Red Sox, a strong enough offense that I don't really want to gamble against them, having a full-on fall flat on their face type of performance out there in Fenway. So I likely avoid Charlie Morton at most cost, and then Garrett Richards, kind of the same song and dance here. Sierra and xFIP, really not great, and the swing and strike rate isn't anything special either. So neither pitcher in play for me, and all the bats in play for me. Matter of fact, this might be one of those stack the ballpark type of opportunities for me, especially catching the Braves in a hitter-friendly AL Park. Ronald Acuna, 6.1K on DraftKings. You got to go up there and get him. It's going to be hard to get some of these 6K bats like Acuna, in addition to a guy like a Degrom or a Max Scherzer, but the opportunity's still there, and I do think the viability in the Brave stack is as high as it's ever going to be. Garrett Richards, so far this season, a 19% K rate against righties, a 256 average allowed, and the ground ball rate really, really good, but does allow an elevated line drive rate, 24%, and that's about in line with what he allowed last year as well. And then against lefties, so far this season, a 277 average allowed, last year a 295 average allowed, and over a 1 home run per night, so good spot for a guy like Freddie Freeman. And Ozzie Albies turning around to the left side of the plate, and as well as Pablo Sandoval, who has a lot, I think he has like 4 pinch hit homers this year, so maybe giving him 4 or 5 at-bats to hit one in the same game at this price would be a solid bet. So the Red Sox side of things, JD Martinez, professional hitter, Alex Verdugo, if he's in the lineup, kind of cheap with the opportunity at the top of the lineup to take advantage of this spot. Xander Bogaerts been really, really good. Rafael Devers, all of the Red Sox. There's really not a Red Sox name I wouldn't have exposure to. Even these guys at the bottom of the order with high strikeout rates and low averages, like Bobby Dalbec and Francie Cordero, I still think they offer enough power potential that I wouldn't leave them out of stacks if I led it up to the opto, especially since I'm going to need a couple value punts to kind of mix and match my high-end pitching prospects with some of the beefier bats, right? So both Braves and Red Sox offense in play for me. Right now I'm showing wind blowing out to dead center in Fenway. Keep an eye on that as the day progresses. No pitchers. Moving on to the next game, the Tigers hosting the Indians. Aaron Savali up against Tariq Skubal. I can already assume that neither pitcher is going to make my player pool. A 9.6% swing and strike rate on Savali, a 405 xFIP, a 425 Sierra. He's outperforming his ERA, his ERA is outperforming his advanced metrics, so we're expecting regression on those numbers. And then the Tigers, usually a team that, like, if I'm going to grab a middling pitcher and throw him against a team, the Tigers do kind of fit that profile. So I wouldn't hate you if you took some stands on Savali, but I usually want to take those stands on a guy that has a 4 Sierra xFIP with like a swing and strike rate at 11, 12%, right? Some redeeming qualities about that pitcher that makes me feel like they could take advantage of the spot, because the Tigers will strike out. 27% K rate this season to righties, 27% at home. This lineup, definitely a lot of red involved. So far this season, Savali against lefties, 20.7% K rate against the lefties from their Department of Redundancy department, and 19.5% against righties. So not a ton of strikeouts there, right? I want a little bit more. Tariq Skubal, I'm going to love picking on Skubal all season long. He just gives up homers. And I think today, a guy like Jordan Luplow is going to project extremely well. Right now, I think he's going to have one of the highest grades in the bomb detector, 4.5. Put that in context when we go look at the bomb detector. By the way, if you guys are subscribed to the RunDFS.com VIP, or you do want to take advantage of this week pass, and you go to RunDFS.com, you sign up, you go to the onboarding thread, you click MLB VIP spreadsheet. If you want the famous bomb detector, it's in the hitter rating chart, and you'll see it sorted. Jordan Luplow, the highest bomb rating today, tied with Matt Olson. So I love the home run propensity allowed by a guy like Skubal. Doesn't really miss a lot of bats, and he allows a lot of hard contact, a lot of fly balls, and this is a dream spot for Luplow, and really any righty with some power that even has some strikeout potential that you can maybe neutralize because of the contact pitcher. But for me, look at Luplow, and I do think Harold Ramirez might be somebody that might be shocking if he let one over the fence. A 40.2% hard contact rate against the lefties, but the strikeout rate at 21%, the wOBA slugging, everything else is low, but the hard contact rate's there. So chipping a chair to that guy for a bomb. Give me some Luplow. Jose Ramirez, a guy that I'm going to like quite a bit as well. And even Ahmed Rosario kind of fits the bill. So Indians, never fun to stack, but they do have an implied run total right now of 4.9. Weather's fine, mid 80 degree temperatures out there in Detroit. So it's not going to be one of those colder games. And I think we're hitting, we're about to hit that portion of the season where temperatures are going to be 70s, 80s, and soon into the 90s, and knocking on the doors into the hundreds in some of these Texas games, right? So I actually could get behind some Indian stacks, even though it's not a fun one. But looking at this lineup, man, there's not a ton of high strikeout numbers. Looking at this projected one, Cesar Hernandez, 15% K rate against lefties. Ahmed Rosario, 16%. Jose Ramirez, under 10%. Luplow, under 20%. Eddie Rosario, 16%. I'll take some gambles on that. Ramirez is really the only guy that's going to break the bank here. So if I'm looking for like a justifiable middle of the road stack to go get me some of those Max Scherzers, Jacob Degroms, I think the Indians could be that team. So I'm going to have some Indian stacks into the mix for me. On the Tiger side, I'm likely not going to stack any Tigers. If I wanted to pick on Savale, there's really not a hard league for me. I do think that hard contact rate to righties might start coming back to bite him a little bit, but so far so good. And I just think it's going to be like an average play against an average team, and I'm hoping that Savali doesn't drop a big fantasy score that makes me regret fading him at the end of the day, but we can't be overly results orientated. I think the metrics pre-flop on a 13-game slate say that he's not really somebody that's going to strike me as somebody I want to roster. I will say, looking at his last 4 games, getting to 100 plus pitches, opportunity. Last game against the Angels, 114 pitches. Sometimes innings will offset an inability to get strikeouts. He got 8 strikeouts against the Angels, but the swinging strike rate doesn't. It could have been a little bit more luck induced, right? So I do think the pitch count is a little bit more interesting than I wanted it to be. But on this slate, I probably don't dabble with it. But thinking about the potential pitch count against this opponent, I don't think you're crazy to take some Savale. But right now, I'd like to believe that I won't end up there, but I guess I'll be the scumbag that leaves the door open for me to maybe get there. Moving on, Orioles at the Twins, game 2 of this series. Dean Kremer taking on Jose Barrios. Orioles implied run total 3.9. The Twins 5.7. That's an insane total, one of the higher totals that you'll see from a non-Coors game, a non-Dunedin game, and I think that is the highest run total of any team on the slate. So the Twins, with that projection, expected to be the highest scoring offense, and I would imagine until this lineup comes out, the Twins probably going to be the highest owned stack. Yesterday, we did not get the return of Nelson Cruz. Look for him any day now. He is 6K on DraftKings. If he does make it back today, he'll definitely represent a big part of that order, probably around that cleanup spot. Kremer against righties and lefties, a very high average and a lot of home runs allowed. A 2.25 home run per 9 to righties this year so far, a 3.21 home run per 9 to lefties, a 286 average to lefties, a 300 average to righties. The strikeout rate to lefties a little bit higher than you might expect with some of these other metrics, but the against righties just a 16% hard contact, or excuse me, a 16% K rate. So Twins in a really, really good spot. Overall, they haven't been a really consistent team. They've been consistently inconsistent. They've also been injury ridden. So I'd be wanting to know what the confirmed lineup is before I make any decisive decisions. But I would assume that the field's going to start out pretty high in them because of the run total. And outside of Nelson Cruz, pretty cheap team to get to on both sites, especially on FanDuel, under 3K all across the board. And even Nelson Cruz is at 3,500, so he's within reach. So I definitely think on FanDuel, the Twins will draw a lot more ownership just based on the pricing and the run total. So no Twins bats off limits for me. Yesterday we saw Kyle Garlick get into a bomb. Mitch Garver's another guy I don't mind. Alex Kirilloff, we had seen him start developing that success. A lot of power in that bat. Give him some more at-bats for like the average and Woba to rise a little bit, because he did only have a limited sample size before getting injured. Bomb rating 4.46. We talked about Jordan Luplow at a 4.5. So he's right there, right below Luplow in the bomb detector. So like Kirilloff, I like the Twins quite a bit. Jose Barrios, interesting spot for him. 8K on FanDuel, 9K on DraftKings. The game yesterday did see a rain delay, so they might try and stretch out their starter here to get as much as they can. I do like Barrios a little bit more at home than on the road. Last couple games for him, 5, 7, 6 innings with pitch counts up to 104, and I'm looking for 25 plus fantasy points today with the upside guys naturally on the slate, the Degroms, the Scherzers. I really don't want to take less than 20 from a pitcher on any slate, but especially today, I don't feel like that's going to get you very far. So I do think Barrios at home is somebody that I can get behind. Has sustained a near 30% K rate at home since the beginning of last season, and including this season as well. His average and home run per nine a little bit elevated for my taste, but the Sierra and XFIP overall body work suggests that he should be just fine. The swing and strike rate 11.7%, in line with where it was last year. And the Orioles are a team that can be hit or miss, and definitely a lot of strikeout potential, a lot of 1 and 5s, 20% or greaters against righties. So not like I gotta have Berrios spot, but I will have some Berrios. Probably one of my tier 3 guys, cap him at 10%, see what happens, and maybe scoops the win. I think the FanDuel price point's a little bit more intriguing on just an isolated play, but I don't think I'll be able to really justify him on single pitcher sites because of the high upper echelon guys. Moving on to the next game, Padres at the Brewers. Joe Musgrove taking on Corbin Burns. Yesterday, my highest owned pitcher, Brandon Woodruff, did just fine. Got me a 30-plus fantasy point performance on DraftKings. I kind of expect more of the same out of Corbin Burns. This Padres lineup yesterday in the last couple games has been without Manny Machado. We'll see if Machado gets back into the mix. If he does, that's going to take a little bit of the strikeout propensity out of the lineup. Right now, if we did get a lineup that featured a lineup like Pham, Machado, Cronenworth, even at the bottom, Jurickson, Profar, it does give you 4 bats that strike out under 20% against righties. However, Corbin Burns has been really, really, really good, really elite, and he's been better than $9,100. So we just talked about Jose Berrios. Burns would definitely be somebody that could outperform Berrios just at the price point, but also just be one of the top 5 pitching scorers on the slate. 25 fantasy points his last outing against Kansas City. And then earlier this season, on the 20th of April, some of you guys celebrated the holiday, 34.5 fantasy points. So you know the strikeout propensity is there. 9+ strikeouts in every game so far this season. So that's the kind of talent we're dealing with. Corbin Burns, if he wasn't on the same planet as Jacob Degrom, might be one of the guys. I mean, I guess he is in the conversation for Cy Young, but he would have a stronger consideration if some other guys weren't in his division or in his conference, in his league, and also on the planet. So 9,100 for Corbin Burns. He's going to be in my player pool. If Machado does not make the lineup again today, it's going to just elevate my confidence in Corbin Burns to walk away with a decent DraftKings game at 9-1. It just seems like such a good price. Even if Machado's in, I'm going to be there on Burns at 9.1, but it makes the lineup that much less menacing. Joe Musgrove this season, 2.61 Sierra, 2.48 xFIP with a 15% swing and strike rate. He's 8.4 on FanDuel, 9.5K on DraftKings, kind of like yesterday as well. I think you can easily justify both pitchers metrically, and Joe Musgrove last pitch on the 22nd. Is that? No, that's not right. I don't know why DraftKings has this random game there. Last pitch on the 19th, where he went 93 pitches, 11 strikeouts against the Rockies. The punching bag of the league. Obviously, his ranges of outcomes from a fantasy output a lot more volatile than you want it to be. But I do think the Brewers are a fine team to target. Colton Wong, Lorenzo Cain, the only 2 hitters on this lineup striking out under 21% against righties. So I got no problem with having exposure to both pitchers here. And if it wasn't for the Degrom, Max Scherzer thought process, this might be one of those spots where I put both these pitchers in the same lineups and hopefully throw a blanket, a net over the win, and maybe they combine for 60+ fantasy points. Definitely a range of outcomes. So because of that, I'm not going to be that high on either offense. I do think talent-wise, you can always bet on a Machado, a Tatis, Tommy Pham if he leads off. He had a homer yesterday. He also has some stolen base potential. Like, those are all perfectly fine one-offs for me. I don't think I gamble or commit to a full stack on either side from where I'm standing now. And Joe Musgrove, kind of the same song and dance. He has allowed some power to lefties, a 1.4 homer per nine last year to lefties, 1.52 this season. So maybe Christian Yelich, but only Christian Yelich, right? I'm not going to get excited about out like Travis Shaw or Omar Narvaez or anybody like that. So just one-offing where I can, if I have, and by that I mean just activating these guys in the optimizer, and I'm not even going to force myself to go get them. But those are, you just bet on talent, and they fall where they fall. Dodgers at the Astros. Next game on the docket, Dodgers picking up that designated hitter spot. A lot of intra-division games, or excuse me, intra-league games going on today. Astros will be throwing former Dodgers Zach Greinke, Clayton Kershaw on the bump for the Dodgers. 8K on Kershaw. What an incredible opportunity that is. But man, oh man, is this a tough matchup, about the toughest matchup you can ask for when it comes to hunting strikeouts. Just a 16.8% K rate this season against lefties, a 17% K rate at home for the Astros. So it's one of those spots where Kershaw, I think we can all agree, is way better than the price point. But is the matchup really that staggering to where he is the most optimal pitcher play at the end of the day? That's up to you guys to decide. I think his stats speak for himself so far this season, but vice versa. The Astros are just that pesky when it comes to striking out. They just don't. I mean, this is a ton of green here, a lot of 17% or less, a lot of 15% or less. So FanDuel, I think Kershaw is what you would categorize as potentially an easy fade. But on DraftKings, if you're an AK guy and you can live with 18 to 25 is the range of outcome, like I don't think that's out of the hemisphere for Kershaw, but I also don't foresee like a ceiling game like 30 plus. So I really want to know that the ceiling is still kind of there. Maybe I trick myself into a little bit of Kershaw, but from where I'm standing right now, this might be fool's gold because of the matchup. Zach Greinke giving up a lot of power and high average to righties since the beginning of last season, almost a 300 average allowed, with a 1.3 plus home run per 9 allowed. So Mookie Betts, Justin Turner, Will Smith, like all those guys are definitely in the conversation for me for guys I'm going to get behind. Dodgers have an implied run total of 4.4. A little bit of a revenge tour here. The Astros and Dodgers World Series, one of the most notorious World Series of my generation. So it'd be fun to see the Dodgers go into Minute Maid, and maybe the Astros try and set the tone for, I'm sure, some of the bad blood we might be seeing going forward. Zach Greinke not going to be in the player pool for me. Kershaw, we'll meditate on that. Sit, let it fester. Probably not. If I'm going to pick on Kershaw, right? If I'm not going to play Kershaw, maybe I got to be man enough, bold enough to take a bat or two against him. Obviously, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, all guys that profile pretty decently against any league average lefty to league average plus. And then Yordan Alvarez, often forgotten about because of the not platoon advantage. He's been hitting lefties with average, with power just fine, so I wouldn't leave him out of the mix here. And if they did get through Kershaw, it is a decent bullpen. So not going to project like it's going to be a shootout. However, it is one of those spots where if you're not going to play Kershaw, why not? Well, why don't you play some Astros? Well, you're not going to play Astros? Well, why not? Because it's Kershaw. Well, make a decision. It's 13 games. Maybe this game breaks out. Is what it is. I'm just going to have a couple Astros bats, and if I was going to play some Kershaw today, it's strictly only on DraftKings as an SP2. And we're moving on. Cardinals at the White Sox. Another intra-league game. Cardinals picking up that DH spot. They're going to be throwing Jack Flaherty up against Lucas Giolito, two very formidable pitchers. Implied run total for the Cardinals, 3.5. White Sox, 4.1. Could be some wind involved in this Chicago area game. Jack Flaherty, 3.9 Sierra, 3.91 xFIP. Definitely has been a little bit luckier in terms of results, just a 2.53 ERA, 11.5% swing and strike rate. However, we know Zach Flaherty is good, but tough matchup here against the White Sox, looking to get right after a rough Yankee stretch over the weekend. We saw that yesterday. Lance Lynn taking the bump from Lucas Giolito. Today, 8.7K for Giolito on DraftKings, 8.5 on FanDuel. His ERA has some positive regressing due. 3.76 Sierra, 3.68 xFIP, and near 15% swing and strike rate. You know that's going to adjust. The Cardinals, strikeout-wise, do do give you a couple of guys that are really, really pesky. Arenado, Yadi Molina, Tommy Edman, all at 15, 12, 17%. And then the other guys a little bit closer to 1 and 3, right? A 28% on Dylan Carlson. Goldie's almost at 24%. This is against the right-handed pitchers since the beginning of last season. 28% on Carpenter, 28.5% on Harrison Bader, and Justin Williams at 36%. So if Giolito can tiptoe around the pesky contact guys without burning a lot of pitches, there's definitely a spot where at 8-7 on DraftKings, he can come out here and cash in on a 25 DKP performance. Absolutely. He'll be in the pool for me. 39 DKP in his last outing against the Minnesota Twins on the 19th, and then several games this season where you kind of get a mixed bag of nuts, but just the fact that 30 fantasy points is a range of outcome is something that will allow him to be in my player pool. And the same with Jack Flaherty, right? White Sox not a matchup that I'm in love with, but I do think it's above 0% range of outcome where Flaherty puts up a rosterable score, but I would have him a lot less than Giolito. I'd probably, if I had to pick an obscure number out of my head right now, I'd probably cap him at 8%. If I want to pick on Flaherty, it's hard to look at one spot and say, all right, this is his weakness. He just doesn't strike out lefties as much as he does righties, right? 30% against righties the last 3 years and 28% against lefties last year, but so far this season under 20%. So if he finds that pitch, those pitches that he uses to get those lefties out and gets a little bit closer to last year's Flaherty numbers against lefties, he'll be fine. So I definitely think it's possible to pitch against the White Sox. We saw all the Yankee starters do it with some success over the weekend. So Flaherty might reward those of you willing to make a little bit more bold choices and bold ownership stances. But yeah, you know, you're never going to have the warm and fuzzies here. So not really a weakness in terms of picking on him for like power, right? Last year he did give up power to lefties, but that hasn't held so far this season, and the hard contact rate is really, really low. So yeah, I'll play some Flaherty, I'll play some Giolito, I'll have more Giolito than Flaherty, but I'll still have Flaherty. And then we move it on. Angels hosting the Rangers. Rangers going to be throwing Hun Young Yang, taking on Andrew Heaney. Battle some southpaws. Andrew Heaney is 6.2K on DraftKings. That looks like quite the opportunity. This is one of those guys that before advanced metrics existed, you would think Heaney was a gas can with his 5.31 ERA. Just really, really tough stretch results-wise in a lot of games this season. But it's 2021. We have advanced metrics to tell us that he's not that bad. Couple games this season against Houston in his last 5. Houston a tough matchup. In one of those games, he dropped 30.5. I think maybe going to FanGraphs here might tell us a story. And it'll give me an opportunity to sip on this bang as I stall. And we're going to type Andrew Heaney into the thing. And then we're going to click on Andrew Heaney. And we're going to announce everything we're doing moment by moment. And we're going to go to Game Log. And basically, I want to show you the results versus the metrics. Again, the metrics tell us the story of what a pitcher should be pitching at the level that we would expect them to pitch at if they keep pitching the way that they've been pitching going forward, right? So luck is a true aspect of baseball. Batted ball events don't always go the way of the average, the mean. And in Andrew Heaney's case, if you look at ERA, he had a 21 ERA against the White Sox earlier this season with a 3.06 xFIP. What's another one? A 10.8 okay, that's not a great spot. A 3.38 ERA with a 2.91. 4 earnings, 5 earnings. All right, so not a whole lot of spots where I can say this is for sure a gap to target, but I think the one number that kind of sticks out the most to me in this spot is the BABIP, man. 357 BABIP, 353, 308, a little bit more normal, but a little still on the high end, 375, 444. So you expect the BABIP to be a little bit more around the batting average number, right? 300, maybe 280 to 310 from an average number, meaning that's the amount of that's your batting average on balls in play, taking out homers. And, you know, for the ground ball rate to be okay, you probably expect a little bit better on the BABIP. So Heaney, say all that to say this: 6.2K, probably too cheap to face a Rangers team that gives you no hit potential and gives you a decent strikeout rate against lefties, almost 25% this season, and over 25% K rate on the road. So 6.2K, I think this is an incredible spot to treat him as one of the 6K bats, and I do think 20 plus DKP is well within the range of outcomes, and I do think 20 plus is a little bit more acceptable today even the bare shot at 20 is more acceptable from Heaney because of his price point. So Heaney might, because of this, again, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know any ownership projections or anything like that, but it seems like if you knew that Jacob Degrom was off the leash and he could throw you 100 bullets against the Rockies, and Andrew Heaney's here at 6.2K, it seems like the public would just go DeGrom, Heaney, let's ride. Whether or not that'll be the case when ownership projections come out, lineups come out, stuff like that, we'll see. But I think that's probably the way to go. And even if it's not DeGrom, Heaney seems like he's going to carry a lot of ownership at this price point. Reminds me of Frankie Montas yesterday. Just generated a lot of buzz because the price was a little bit too low against a bad team. Heaney against righties so far this season, 33.3% K rate. Against lefties, 23.4%. With the xFIP being reverse splits, 4.6 xFIP against lefties with an under 3 xFIP against righties. So you'd almost, on these numbers, want more righties than lefties, but I'm not going to overreact to that in less than 40 innings. The sample size here, if I wanted to pick on Heaney, definitely does have the propensity to give up some power. 2.22 home run per 9 to righties so far this season, and well over 1 home run per 9 if you take his conglomerate average the last 4 seasons. So guys like Nick Solak, Adolis Garcia all project pretty well. So I do think if Heaney does get into that 30+% owned area, absolutely take some stands here, grab some Rangers bats as hedge stacks, or even some contrarian stacks in like a single entry, because behind Heaney is going to be a bullpen that is not great. I think this Angels bullpen is one of the worst. Sierras and runs allowed and whips, all that good stuff. So actually a good, decent spot for the Rangers if you believe in their bats. And I actually think they're a little bit underrated because they've been no hit twice, and that's how they get you. And then of course their park plays a little bit more pitcher friendly when you put a lid on the top. But I do think I could grab 4 guys in this lineup and say, yeah, I'll stack them. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, not as exciting, but I think he's justifiable. Nick Solak, Nate Lowe, Adolis Garcia, Joey Gallo, absolutely guys you can justify. And then Chris Davis back in the mix, really, really cheap on both sides. Should pick up that DA spot. Willie Calhoun, they have some names here that I would get behind. Culberson probably cracks the lineup because of the platoon advantage. I don't know if he plays all 9 innings, but yeah. Probably not going to play any Yang. Yeah, probably not going to play any Yang. If I want to pick on Yang, so far he's been giving up power to righties. So Anthony Rendon should profile pretty decently. The ground ball rate on him against righties, though, has been pretty high, and the hard contact rate's been pretty low. So looking at these metrics, if he's going to have a 54% ground ball rate with a 26% hard contact rate, a sub 15% line drive rate, and a sub 33% fly ball rate, he's not going to have a 1.62 home run per 9. But there's not enough sample size, I think, to over rely on this, and I probably don't expect him to be somebody that lasts a long time, right? So let me go see what the pitch count has been for him the last couple games. 74, actually, pitch count's been up there, 70 plus pitches. So he might stick around for 5+ innings. So yeah, I'll take some chipping chairs on Anthony Rendon. The projected lineup that I got had Justin Upton batting leadoff against a lefty. If that did come to fruition, I'd probably take some shots at that, extra at bats against a lefty, and then of course being in front of Ohtani gives you some good pitches to see. And then, like I said, Rendon probably just 1, 2, 3 for me. And then I think Jared Walsh is good enough to take stabs on no matter what. And then Kurt Suzuki has had a perfectly fine average against lefties dating back to the beginning of last year, really his career. So move on to the next game. Just 2 games left, man. I appreciate you guys hanging with me. Hopefully you guys are sticking with me in terms of speed. I'm trying to keep it fast. I know 13 games, I could literally be here for 2 hours and chop it all up, but I think I'm trying to cover all the good points and keep this video at a manageable size. Next game on the docket, Mariners at the Athletics. Cole Irvin hosting Logan Gilbert. Gilbert, one of the Mariners' top pitching prospects. You're seeing the growing pains, making that transition from the minors to the majors. Not really a spot I'm interested in pitching against or pitching him. 25% K rate against righties thus far, a 20% K rate against lefties. In the minors, he was a strikeout guy. So I do think it's worth watching him. I do have him in season long. I hope he does build and get better. Cole Irvin, a guy with a high Sierra, high xFIP, and a sub 10% swinging strike rate. Not somebody I'm going to be rostering. If I want to pick on Cole Irvin, he is allowing a high average to lefties so far this season. A 306 average allowed, so Jared Kelenic bats lead off for them. He's probably too cheap on FanDuel to not have some. Mitch Haniger's been a professional hitter for the Mariners. I do like handcuffing those two. I'm probably not going to overcommit to a Mariners stack. And on the athletic side, if I want to pick on Logan Gilbert, he's been an extreme fly ball guy to both sides of the plate, but especially the lefties thus far. So maybe Matt Olson, who I talked about, is tied with Jordan Luplow as the highest bomb rating so far. Definitely would project pretty well in this spot against Gilbert if he continued this stretch. I do think we have an opportunity here to maybe go to look at the minor league numbers just to kind of see. We don't want to overreact to a short sample size of Gilbert in the majors. So I just want to look at what he's done in the minors against lefties. And what I'm going to be looking for is home runs. We're going to look at minor splits against lefties, and we'll look at at-bats versus home runs allowed. Okay, so there's a lot of Gilbert, so we're going to put Logan in there, pulling him up. So remember, they didn't play a minor league season last year. This season in the minors, just 2.1 innings against lefties with a 3 ground out to air out ratio. So not enough to go by. Again, nothing last year. So we're going to go all the way back to 2019 to see if nothing there. So we don't have nothing to go off of. Oh, yeah, we do. Against lefties, 9.2 innings. 0.14 ground out there. So he was a fly ball pitcher. So yeah, I until we get more sample size, we got to go with what we got, right? So looking at his game log, he's got 2 or 3 games already, right? Logan Gilbert. Let's check out the ground ball versus fly ball race just to try and substantiate everything. 3-3 and then 0-7. So if he's going to be a fly ball guy, Matt Olson's definitely going to project pretty well for me. Give me some Matt Olson. Athletics 4.8 implied run total. Mariners pitching staff definitely very, very beatable. Mark Canha is somebody I don't mind rostering as well. Seth Brown, cheapy lefty that might get you a little different in the field, but not really committing to like a full stack here. Just a couple of the obvious names. And like I said, Jared Kelenic, Mitch Haniger, definitely a fun handcuff to have. 1 game left on the docket. Take a pause for the cause. Let you guys know if you want to interact with me. Twitter.com/Gundacker. That's how you guys can get out on Twitter. My DMs are open. I don't mind hitting it up with you. And like I said at the beginning of this video, man, we have specials at RunDFS.com. If you guys want access to RunDFS.com, MLB VIP spreadsheet, expedite your daily research process, get access to, you see it right here, this index portal does all the work for you, man. It gives you that platoon information, price points on both sides, the bomb detector rating, the K percentage, and also for the pitching. Like, this is all you need to fire up your front line research. And then you can, if you wanted to get a little bit deeper, you can go to that pitch report, cross-reference the linear scale grade of the weight for the pitcher's pitch type, his usage rate, his average velocity, how it's graded, and then how the opposing hitters do against that. I think with that, the index portal on that, you're in for a treat. And then the hitter rating chart featuring the bomb detector, also a way to kind of go after some of the power projections. So I think the spreadsheet is one of the most powerful research aids in the world when it comes to fantasy baseball, and I really mean that. Like, I'm not blowing smoke. So obviously the world's taking notice, and the bomb detector's kind of catching on. If you guys want access to it, it's the really, really discounted price at VIP right now. RunDFS.com. Get signed up. Jump into that Discord. I'll be hanging out in the Discord voice chat for about 2 hours before lock today. We also have basketball tonight. I believe we got 3 games to have some fun with. It's a pretty laid back time as we wait for NFL to get back. So if you're looking to learn a new sport, I really think I can help you do that. And then, of course, like I said, if you guys are watching on YouTube, interact with the video, man. Show some love. One of the reasons why you don't get a ton of MLB content is because we don't do a ton of clicks. Yesterday's video got less than 100, where if I burp into a microphone and type NBA on the title, that video will get a couple hundred clicks. So it's a little harder to prioritize that when we got so much going on elsewhere. So if you guys really want the baseball content, show love, man. Share the videos, like the videos, leave comments on the videos. Helps the YouTube algorithm. Main event tonight, the Giants at the D-backs. We're out here in Chase Field. Absolutely keep an eye on the roof information at Chase Field. If the roof is open, it might be the hottest game of the season. I feel like I say that every time. The roof could be open in Chase Field, but it could be that hot today. I'm looking at 90 to 100 degrees out there in the desert. If the roof's open, it does kind of neutralize the positive pitching effects of the humidor. And it would make Kevin Gossman a little bit more hard to break down. He's 7.2K on DraftKings and 10.8K on FanDuel. He's already in consideration just because of how he's performed on the season and the price point. That's just far too cheap for Kevin Gossman, in my opinion, from where I'm sitting. I do think 18 plus DKP is the median range of outcome at 7,200 for him. And look at his game log: 27 plus DKP in his last 3 games. And then 30 plus in 4 of his last 6 games. Like, he's been showing that upside. And this isn't just being results-based game log watching. His advanced metrics agree with this stuff. So a 3.25 Sierra, 3.22 xFIP. Obviously, not many pitchers will project to hold a 1.6 ERA. But the swinging strike rate almost at 15%, in line with what he was doing last year. Throwing strikes, the whip under 1. Like, he's a good pitcher. This is going to be a tougher matchup to go out there and hunt strikeouts, but we've said that, and we've seen pitchers that have elevated swing and strike rates and good swing and miss stuff go against the D-backs succeed. We've seen Max Scherzer do it a couple times, so I don't think it's a death spot for Gossman at 7.2K. I definitely don't think it's as bad of a spot as like Clayton Kershaw against the Astros. The caveat there is if the roof's open, I probably throw my hands up and whatever happens, because I do think the roof being open makes that much of a difference. 10.8K on FanDuel for Kevin Gossman. You're not likely to see this discrepancy in price between site to site that often when it comes to upper echelon pitching. So I'm going to take advantage of Kevin Gossman if the roof is closed. And if it's open, I probably still have above 0%, but it does make the spot a little bit more volatile for me. Corbin Martin, you did your thing, dog, but that's going to be a no for me. 4.9 xFIP, 5.2% swing and strike rate, 5.12 Sierra, just 5 innings of sample size, but looking back to the 19 innings we have to work with in 2019, there's just not much there to go off of, and you really don't have to take that risk. If the lid's open, even if the lid's not open, I think you could justify the Giants here. The Giants have been a surprising story on the season for the entire league to take notice, and they're going against a pitching staff, backing up Corbin Martin, that's very beatable. And if the roof is open, these are some bats that can surprise you. We've seen this offense drop runs, and they have more power than you might perceive. We've seen Buster Posey hit a decent chunk of bombs this year. I think he might be at like 7 or 8. Evan Longoria batting over 300 against righties since the beginning of last year, slugging 540 plus. So good spot, I think, for the Giants offense. They have an implied run total of 5.2. Again, I can't stress it enough. Asterisk, take note. Chase Field roof. Is it open? Underline, smiley face, question marks, emoji, eggplant, whatever you have to do to make yourself remember. That's stupid to go check that. Anyway, that is our look at this slate. If I had to come back, summarize it, making a quick pitcher playing pool. How now, brown cow? Degrom, Scherzer, Musgrove, Flaherty to an extent. Corbin Burns a little bit higher. Berrios a little bit. Giolito a little bit. Moving. Kershaw, will meditate on that. If the Astros lineup surprises us, maybe. I think in like 50 lineups or less, no Kershaw. 150 lineups, I'd get to a little bit of Kershaw, not much. And then Kevin Gossman, 7,200. I'm going to have Gossman no matter what, but if the roof is closed, I'll have more. And if it's open, I'll have less. And then Andrew Heaney, 6,200, might be my highest owned pitcher on the slate. Past maybe like a Degrom if we got the doors open on Degrom's pitch count. So yeah, the downside of putting up a video this early is I don't have all the information to work with when it comes to pitch counts and confirmed lineups, but you will have that stuff in the spreadsheet as it comes out, probably about 2.5-3 hours before before main slate lock. You'll start seeing it confirmed in the spreadsheet. And yeah, so that is it. If you guys what do we want to do? I'm going to leave you guys with some bomb picks. Let's go to the home run, the bomb detector here. Jordan Luplow, Matt Olson, and Alex Kirilloff. We've kind of discussed why all three guys are projecting well. I do think there's more sample size on Luplow and Olson than Kirilloff, but Kirilloff's been fine. He graded extremely high for power in the minors. Aaron Judge is up there at the tippy top. Steven Matz, more contact than swing and miss, a 9.6% swing and strike rate. Daring against some of these Yankee bats, especially a guy like Giancarlo Stanton, 3K on FanDuel. The disrespect. Anyone else sticking out as a sneaky power bat here? No, I do like. I'm in agreement with Luplow though. Luplow against Skubal. That's the call. Love you guys, man. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, making part of my day be part of your day. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Keep the vibes up. Hit that thumbs up. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, Wednesday, if we can keep a small schedule. Like I said, it's 4 in the morning, and I found a little hole to make this video. So hopefully, we'll have something like that tomorrow and keep this video under an hour. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.